Hello and welcome to Optimizing Your Online Presence. This year, our online presence is going to be stronger than ever, and we want to make sure that we are organizing our Schoology in a meaningful and consistent way, and that we are setting ourselves up for success. Some questions to be answered today. What structures are going to be required across the division and across the building? So in the past, there weren't any required components or required structures within Schoology. Teachers pretty much had the freedom to use it in whatever way made sense to them. But for consistency purposes, there will be some requirements this year, so we're going to go over those. How can we support our parents with using Schoology? Parents received access to Schoology in the spring, and it was a spot of frustration with them. So we are going to make sure that we are, again, consistent and supporting parents as much as possible, both as a division in ITSs, but also for our teachers. There are some things you can do to help parents with the use of Schoology. How can we develop a folder, course, and calendar structure that all stakeholders can use? Again, consistency is going to be the key in that. Schoology will need to be used in all classes this year. All courses are required to use it, so if a parent calls the help desk and needs help finding an assignment, they will be going to Schoology, so your assignments will need to be in Schoology. There are new required components, as I said, for all courses across the division, and this again is for consistency purposes. We need all parents to be able to find things in the same place across the building and across the division. So for all stakeholders, we have some components that need to look similar. You can hyperlink to sites outside of Schoology, but we'll need this platform in all courses. So if you need to hyperlink to something else outside for something that you're working with your students, that's perfectly fine. But the assignment needs to be hyperlinked out of Schoology to wherever you are sending them. So let's get started. The first component that will be required, and really should have always been in there, is a profile picture. In the past, we were fine with whatever picture you wanted to put in there, but really, since we aren't going to be starting face-to-face with our students, it's really important that they know who we are and that they know what we look like, so that when we do come back to school, they'll be able to identify us. So professional picture is best. So we're going to try to avoid those Bitmojis as much as possible. As far as our profile picture, definitely be using them in my cloud course, but for my profile picture, it really should be changed to a professional picture. If you talk to the yearbook coordinator, they should have access to a file of your school pictures. So if yours turned out well, that is an option. And you're also to add some details to your All About Me. And so I'm going to show you in just a moment where you can find that inside of Schoology and how you can make those changes. The next thing we need to take a second to adjust our settings, adjusting any prefixes for yourself, setting up any notifications under your personal. We want to make sure that we set it so that if we get private messages, we get an email for those, so that we will be better able to communicate with our students. So let's take a moment to see where those things are. So here I am inside of my Sandbox course inside of Schoology. If I come up to the top right hand corner and click on my name, this is where I'm going to see the settings for my profile. So I'm going to click on your profile. by hovering over your picture area. This is where I can click to edit my photo and put that professional photo in. And here are your All About Me's, and the options to change your All About Me for your profile are over here on the right hand side. So I can add my photo even from here, again in Schoology multiple spots, and write a small bio about myself, add any activities or interests. It's also noteworthy that this is where it shows any badges that you've earned for a class. So if you've earned badges, you can click on see all your badges, and students would be able to see there where their badges that they have earned are located. If I come back up and click on my name, I can move down to settings, and this is where we can adjust our settings across Schoology. So this isn't for just one course. These are your settings as a whole inside of Schoology. The first tab is your account settings, and this is where you can change your title. There is a custom, so if you're a coach and you want it to say coach, you can adjust it and add coach as your custom title, and that's perfectly acceptable. You can also click here and have it display your title in place of or instead of your first name. So if I just wanted to say Coach Blaze and not have Jennifer in there, then I can click that, and that is an option as well. If you make changes, make sure you choose the Save button down here at the bottom. Notifications. You may notice that I have an extra column than you if you have not added the Schoology app to your phone. So some of you may have mobile, some of you may not. We're not going to worry about that right now, but we are going to look at the email settings. A lot of mine say custom because you can adjust the settings inside of each individual course rather than changing them right here, which is perfectly fine. I do want to bring you down though to the personal section, and I want you to notice that I do have private messages turned on, so that if a student, a teacher, a parent sends me a private message inside of Schoology, I will get those notifications inside of my email, and I'm not missing out on any of those messages that I may need to see if someone having questions or issues. Once you have changed any settings in here, you are going to click Save Changes. And just quickly, transfer history. If you're making a big change and moving an entire course to your resources, or even a setup course from one course to another, you may see something that says that it will show in your transfer history. And so this is where your transfer history is located. And also noteworthy is the recycling bin. And so if you throw something away but regret it and want to come back to it and put it back into the course, your recycling bin is in this settings section. I wanted to mention that this training has been put inside of PlayPosit because I want you to be able to pause this and go through. I wanted to mention that this training has been put inside of PlayPosit so that you are able to pause this training at any time, go into your sandbox or your actual courses if those are available, and make changes and do some adjusting as I am going through this and teaching you where things are. It will also give you the opportunity in certain spots to skip over things that you may already know and have adjusted. So PlayPosit's going to give you the freedom to have some ability to skip around and rewind, and it also gives me the ability to add some questions inside of my training so that I can make sure that we're all on the right track and getting the most out of this. So that was our settings. Next, we want to talk about our courses. Using the courses set up by Synergy, so this is a step you're going to want to do once your Synergy courses have been set up inside of Schoology. If you're doing this pre-work week, you're going to have to wait on this part. But if it's post-work week and courses have been added inside of Schoology, you can go in and reorder them. So I'm going to show you now where to go to reorder your courses inside of Schoology. There are multiple ways to move courses around inside of Schoology. This is the landing page as soon as I come into Schoology, and these icons are draggable. So if I want to move things around from here, I can. If this isn't something I use very often, I can move it a little bit further down, and you can click on courses and see where they show up. So I've moved things around here a little bit. So you can move your courses around here. You also are able to go to My Courses and select Reorder Courses and move them around here. The nice thing about doing it from here is that you see this little line that lets you know that courses that are below this line won't appear in your course drop-down menu. So if I know this isn't something I'm going to use on a daily basis and I want to move it down, then these things can go up and down. And that will reorder it. So it's up to you if you want to do it from this My Courses section, or you want to do it straight from the landing page. But it will be important for you to reorder your courses so that they are in a meaningful order and that the courses you use the most are at the top. And for all other courses, you go to your My Courses section. All right, another important part of Schoology is your presence is changing your course image. Having a different course image makes it easier for the students to find your course, and your image should include your subject, what bell or period you are teaching from. So for example, I've added a little picture of myself and my ITS partner at Salem, what the name of our course is, when the course meets, where we meet when we are back in school. So first bell and virtually what time we're meeting is great, but we also need them to be able to find what room you're in once we get back to school. So have that on there as well. And in this slide presentation, there is also a hyperlink to a Google Drawings that will help you with this, and so I will add this to the PlayPosit as a hyperlink as well so that you are able to see that. And so let me pull it up real quick just so you can see what it looks like. You do not have to use this exact Google Drawing, but it is pretty useful, so if you'd like to, it's there for you. So this is a forced copy, as you could see, so that you'll have your own copy and you can change all of these things around. But Mr. Cooper was nice enough to give us some guidelines and some details on what shows up inside of Schoology and where it's going to cut things off, so you can try to keep things within those parameters. Alright, another really important part that we're going to take a quick minute to go over some different options that you have is a welcome message. You are required to have a welcome message. I'm going to show you some examples and some ways that you can set this welcome message up. So your welcome message has a few different components to it, but I'm going to show you how to use announcements to add this, and this is going to be a really big support for students and parents on how they can keep important information in a place that's not going to get lost in with our day-to-day folders inside of Schoology. So I want to show you what one way a welcome message can look, and then we're going to go into Schoology in a moment and see how you can set that up. So inside of your announcement, you want to be able to include things like your contact information, any virtual links that the student's going to use on a daily basis, your office hours, a short video on your layout or how to navigate your course. That was one thing that was requested by parents, was some directions on what the teacher's thinking was when they set up their course, so that they're able to understand how to navigate and find things inside of Schoology. Any routines, expectations, policies, so things that you would normally keep in a syllabus, those sorts of things want to be kept at the top. And anything else that is pertinent information that you think is going to be really important for parents and students to understand and have access to, such as grading policies. We want that to be an announcement that stays at the top of the course so that at any time teachers can click on that and be able to find those things. For this example, the teacher just simply laid it out, and anything here in blue is a hyperlink to get the parent straight to the email or the office hours or whatnot. Another way we can do this is the same information, just instead of it being hyperlinked to words, it's hyperlinked to Bitmojis, and all that same information is inside of here. So whichever way you want to do it, we are going to help you get there. So I'm going to show you how to do that really quickly. So this is where the announcements show up here at the top, and they'll stay at the top of my course as long as I allow them there. So my first one is a Meet the Teacher, and it's just a quick video that introduces myself and my interests and my family and those sorts of things that you would share with your students the first day of school, the first week of school. Here's a link to view the syllabus, so those things like grading policies and attendance policies and when things are going to be due and all of those sorts of things that you would normally put in a syllabus are here, and that's just a link out to a Google document. Here is a quick tour of my course. So in this video I made a screencast of myself explaining what my folder structure was for my course, and we're going to go over folder structure here very soon. And then here at the top is also a link to my class Zoom meeting. So For this class, my Zoom meetings are Tuesday through Friday from 9 to 9:30. And so every day at 9:30, the students can come right here and just click on it. It's going to take them straight to that Zoom meeting that's set up reoccurring, and they won't have to search for where or when that meeting is. It's a quick link for them. So to create these, inside of the ITS course for Salem and for Green Run, depending on which school you're at, there is a course at the top that says creating a Bitmoji classroom and stickers. This Bitmoji stickers or buttons are the things that I created up here. So there's a quick 10-minute video inside of this section that shows you how to do that. So I'm not going to go through that here right now, but if you would like to learn more about that, inside of both training courses for Green Run and Salem, this Bitmoji folder is going to teach you how to make the stickers. It doesn't need to be to a Bitmoji. It could be to, if you love Mickey Mouse, it could be to different mouse heads. It could be just to an actual circle that looks like a button where it says click here. It's up to you. You can make this part customizable. It's required that you have those components up there, but how you make them look is completely up to you. In order to get things to stick up here, I find it easier to write everything out in a Google document and then copy and paste it into my text box here. So what I did was I copied and pasted these pictures from a Google document already hyperlinked and pasted them into this text box and then just pasted them in. And now it doesn't look like they are going to fit and that it's going to be 2 lines, but your text box is a lot smaller than the area up here at the top that it'll allow you to put them in. So I wouldn't worry too much. You may need to play with that a little bit, but it gives you more space than what you feel like you have. And then in order to get it to stick up here as an announcement, you're going to come down to this text bubble before you hit post, and you are going to check the box with the little announcement bell. That's what that is to updates as an announcement. And then you will click post. After you click post, that announcement now sticks at the top of your updates section and at the top of your course materials section. Again, there's more information and all of that in this Bitmoji training. When you're creating your announcement, make sure you include your co-teacher if you have one. We want the students to see everyone's Bitmojis. All right, on to a very, very important part. For consistency's purposes, we will all be setting up at Green Run and Salem our folder structures in a consistent, similar way so that our students and parents are able to find things to be the same across courses as far as folder structure goes. So the folder structure we are going to be using is a combination of units and time. You can replace the word unit with chapter if that is more applicable to your course, but we're going to be doing it by units or chapters and time. So what that would look like. For this course, Unit 2, I'm giving the students the title, which will be Solving Inequalities, but I'm also laying it out inside of that folder. Inside of the Unit 2 folder, there's a week 1 of inequalities, a week 2 of inequalities, and then inside of each week, it's broken down according to day. So if you'll notice, we have a folder that's been pulled out as well. So here's 10.6, 10.7, 10.8 is pulled out. So what this is called the archive method. So when you get to a specific day, you pull that out for the students and add it to the top so they don't have to go searching for what you're working on that day. So after we have completed classes for the 8th, as a teacher, I would drag the 10.8 back into my folder and put it in its spot. Oops. Grab 10.9, move that to the top. So we're just moving them around day by day so that whatever we're working on that day is at the top, and archiving it back into its spot at the end of the day. Unit 2 is on top of Unit 1 because that's what we're working on right now, and the actual folder for the day is at the top. So I'm going to show you that again in an actual course. So here is the actual course that I'm going to be giving my example from. So here's Unit 1, and then if I click inside of Unit 1, you can see Week 1, Day 1, Day 2, Day 3, Day 4, Day 5. It's okay to have some additional things in there. So if for this week I've got a folder that has extra help for the students there, they can have it. If I've got a video library for this unit and then I want that to be available, that's an additional folder that I just put at the bottom. But my days as I'm working through it are showing up here. So on my main course page, if it's Week 1, Day 3, I can take Week 1, Day 3, if that's the day we're working on in class, drag it to the top, then the students see it. After Day 3 and we're ready to work on Day 4, I would bring this back down to Unit 1 and put it back inside of the folder. And so it goes between Day 2 and Day 4. And then I would grab Day 4 when I'm on Day 4 and drag that back to the top so that the day we're working on is the day that's showing at the top. At the end of Day 4, I drag Day 4 back into its folder. And as we go through the year, whichever unit we're on, we can move to the top of our unit section. So in October, when we're in Unit 3, I can move Unit 3 to the top and then move the days out and inside of that so that I'm not trying to drop and drag from far down in my Schoology to up to the top, if that makes sense. And then when I get to Unit 4, I can move this folder back where it goes and pull Unit 4 up to the top. So that is the folder structure. That's going to be the expectation at Green Run and Salem High Schools, is to use units and days. So when I click on that little arrow there, I can see what is inside of that folder. Another helpful tip for Schoology to make things easier for parents and students to find is to unnumber assignments and assessments inside of Schoology. I am not numbering every single thing that's inside of my Schoology course, only things that are being asked of the student to turn in inside of Schoology. So as you can see, my assignments have been assigned a number, and then my assessments also assigned a number. This number system is on you. You can set it up however you want. If you want your assignments to start with 0 and you want discussion boards to be the 100s and media albums to be 200s, and assessments to be 500s, you can do that. I just started with 001 and went through all of my assignments. I think I got up to like 45 or 50, I don't know. And then my assessments, I did start in the 500s just to give them a little more distinction. I'm going to show you a little tip for that. So when I went in to set up my classroom, I already had the materials created. I've used these same trainings in the springtime. I already had these things created. I just had to go in to my folders and click on edit and edit to add the units or to add what week or day the actual assignment was. So I wasn't recreating the actual materials, I was just recreating the labels. And then I went back to add the numbers to assignments. I started to just go through folder, but I was afraid I was going to miss something or my numbers were going to start to get inconsistent and I was going to mess that up. So a tip for that, and what I ended up going to do, is if you click on all materials, you can just pull up all assignments into a line, and I just went through that line and added the assignments. So these aren't going to be at first sequential because it took me a minute to think to do that, but eventually I got to 9, 10. And so I just went to my assignments tab and added an edit to add the numbers in front of the actual titles to the assignments. So all of my assignments have been given a number inside of Schoology. And then I went to my discussion boards and I gave those a number. And so all of my discussion posts have a number. These are all things that the students are going to be turned in. The actual pages and teachings and videos that are me instructing the students don't have numbers. Just the things that the students are going to have to turn in. So for the students who have a grade book inside of Schoology but the parents don't, if I tell the student you're missing assignment 22, they can come to the grade book and now they're just looking for the number 22. They're not looking for an assignment title or whether it was a assignment or a discussion board or anything like that. They're just looking for this number 22 so they can come to the grade book, click on number 22. It's going to take them straight to that assignment. They're going to know exactly what they need to do to correct that. So by using those numbers, it creates an easier way for students to go back and find what they need to have done and ready inside of Schoology. The numbering is not going to be required. It's just a tip that's going to make it easier for students. Now, what I do to keep on track with my numbers is I just have a small sticky note that I keep on my computer that lets me know what number I'm on with my assignments. Some other details about your materials inside of Schoology that you need to keep in mind. It is a requirement to have a due date on the assignment, and it is also a requirement to have something in the description field that describes what is inside of that assignment. So in the description field, you want to remember to include clear instructions that provide context for the students and the parents. This is the only part that parents see inside of Parent View. So if you just have the name and the number of the assignment, but the directions are on the Google Doc, parents cannot see that Google Doc. They're not going to be able to see what that says for the students to do. So it's very important, especially on Google Docs, but all assignments, that that description field gives detailed directions for the parents and the students. Due dates are important because they are automatically populated in the calendar, and we found a lot of parents were depending on that calendar in Schoology to keep their kids on track. So if you want something on the calendar in Schoology, it has to be done through a due date in there. If you want something on the calendar that is not turned in through Schoology, mark the assignment without submissions so that it still populates on the calendar. So I know that some of you have probably heard me say this before. If you have something that is not being turned in through Schoology, you can still make an assignment inside of Schoology and mark it that it's not going to have submissions so that it still populates on that calendar. You just need to make sure that everything that goes inside of Schoology as an assignment gets graded in some way so that it comes off of their calendar after it's been turned in, and it doesn't stay on the calendar because the calendar can get really cluttered with things that didn't actually get turned in, and it makes it hard for the students to keep up with what they need to be able to see on the calendar. The next thing that we need to make sure we do is do our Synergy sync. Once we have our Synergy categories set up, we need to come into Schoology and bring those categories over. So the directions for that are hyperlinked in my slideshow, and I will also make sure that it's linked inside of PlayPosit so that you can get those directions quickly. Aesthetics are also super important. Use colors, images. They help to make it more pleasing to the eye looking inside of Schoology. That's why I like to use Bitmojis inside of mine, just because they're colorful and they're fun, and sometimes they're even silly. But if you want to use an image of something that applies to the content inside of your Schoology, such as this Unit 1 for Civilizations, and put that picture in on the folder, please do so, just so that our Schoology pages aren't blue and white and boring and not pleasing and engaging for the students visually when they look inside of there. Please make sure that you have also joined the teaching and learning groups. I will link the codes for those if you don't already have them. Hopefully everyone has them. We use them a lot in the spring. Refer back to your curriculum groups often to get any updates on information and resources. And make sure that you have notifications turned on for the staff and instructional groups inside of Schoology so that you're getting any group updates. That's going to be something that we're going to be using, those groups inside of Schoology as staff to get information to students and staff as well as we are going through our virtual phases. Additional ideas for student success and support. Adding those banner messages at the course with bold, timely, current messages. So those things that I put at the top in my course were things that I need the students to be able to have access to at all times. So we want to make sure that those are added as banner messages at the top. It'll also be important to add that parent information section, that tour, the syllabus, those sorts of things. information for ClassLink, which is replacing Clever. You can add that information into your syllabus as well. Some additional resources for you. If you're new to Schoology and you need more resources inside of the ITS Schoology group at both schools, there are more Schoology resources of Schoology Basics. There's also the Schoology Help feature that's at the bottom of every page inside of Schoology, and it'll take you to a division Schoology page, not just to Schoology the company page, so that you can see things that are specific to our division. And we also have some resources for parents and students that I will make sure that are linked out for you guys so that you can put those parent and student resources inside of your courses as well to help your parents. Some things that are new inside of Schoology. This first one came at the very end of the school year, so you may have heard it, you may not, but assessments and AMPs also now have the ability to have audio and video inside of the assessments, so that's exciting. That's really exciting, especially for foreign language classes, so they can hear you speaking the language and response in kind inside of an assessment in Schoology. There's also now reporting for student time spent inside of Schoology. So as we're thinking of ways to take attendance and see what our students are doing inside of Schoology and how much time they are spending in there, we do have reports for that as well. And there's is a link to that. I will make sure that you have the link to the directions for this. So it's going to be important to understand the workflow of the assignments and the Google Drive assignments inside of Schoology. Giving that virtual tour and explaining these things to parents is going to be very helpful. There's still a big discrepancy between assignments and Google Drive assignments. Assignments, parents can see the directions inside of the assignment if it's just a regular Schoology assignment, but those Google Drive assignments are not going to fill for them. They're not going to have access to the whatever came from your Google Drive, whether it be the slides or a document. They're not going to have access to that, so it's very important that those clear directions get put in the description on the assignment. Section linking will be available the first 2 weeks of school. Section linking is meant for teachers that have multiple sections of a single prep. So if you teach English 9 and you teach 3 preps of English 9 and that's what you teach, you can section link it so that those courses are linked together and you don't have to do multiple work repeatedly over and over again. In the beginning, there were some problems with section linking and I really wasn't promoting it too much. But it does have its merits, especially in this sort of environment. So if you have questions and want to see the pros and cons of section linking, because there are some cons, that will be done. One of the things about it is once you section link, you are committing to it for the entire term. You're not going to be able to go through halfway through the term and say, I didn't really like this, it's not what I thought. Because if you unlink, you lose materials from some of the courses. So we don't want to do that. So we're going to understand the pros and cons before we section link, and we'll have the first 2 weeks to do that, to make those decisions. Tracy Legata at the assessments for teaching and learning has a course that she has each month in Frontline to teach you how to use assessments and AMP inside of Schoology. So if you're interested in that, you can sign up for that in Frontline. And finally, just some tips for keeping folders, organizing and simplifying it for students is to use those numbering rules inside of Schoology, moving the most recent assignment or materials to the top so that whatever they need for that day is just right there, front and center for them. Using embed videos. So if you need help with embedding videos or images inside of Schoology, please contact me and I'll be happy to show you how to do that. Using images whenever possible. It brightens things up. It helps those visual learners to get an idea of conceptual ideas, and unpublishing folders and materials that you're no longer using so that your Schoology doesn't get too cluttered. I know that was a lot. This is available to you to go back to and relook at and reuse anything. I hope that you were pausing and at least setting up one of your courses as you were watching this. You already have the materials built out in most cases, so hopefully all you're having to do is go in and edit some of the descriptions and titles to assignments and folders inside of your courses, and just really getting those things tightened up so that there's consistency throughout our buildings and we're able to support our students and our parents in a meaningful, organized way. If you have questions or need help with any of this, you can always contact me at jeblaze@vbschools as my email, or texting me if you have my number. I am available to you in any way that I can help. All right, good luck.